in the upper left-hand corner. You're on, Maureen.
Welcome everyone to the City of Austin virtual community meeting to discuss NPA 2022-0016.03. I'm Maureen Meredith. I work for the City of Austin Housing and Planning Department, and I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager for this case. If you haven't done so already, please let us know who is here in the chat box. You can type your name and organization if you're associated with one. I will use this as the meeting sign-in sheet. Please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone. Please turn off your video if you're participating online to save bandwidth. This meeting will be recorded and publicly posted to the speakupaustin.org/NPA website. If you do not want your image viewed publicly, please turn off your camera. As I mentioned, I am Maureen Meredith. I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager. Heather Chafin is the Zoning Case Manager, and this is our contact information. The agenda tonight, I'll go over basic case information, guidelines for group discussion, how to participate in this process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map. I'll do a brief presentation outlining the applicant's plan amendment and zoning requests. The applicant will do a more detailed presentation, and then we will open the floor to the questions and answers. So this property is located in the Govalle Johnston Terrace planning area. The property address is 4927 East 5th Street. It's 1.42 acres. Plan amendment case number is NPA 2022-0016.03. Project name is 4927 East 5th Street. The request is to change the future land use map from industry to commercial. The associated zoning case number is C14 2022-0103. The zoning request is to change the zoning on the property from Limited Industrial Services District, Conditional Overlay Neighborhood Plan, to Limited Industrial Services District, Plan Development Area, Neighborhood Plan for a professional office. Property owner applicant is 4927 East 5th Ltd. The agent is Drenner Group, and presenting tonight is Amanda Swore. Guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. Please postpone general comments during the Q&A session. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand symbol on the menu bar. Telephone participants will be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through the staff and applicant presentations. Then staff will open the floor to answer the questions in the chat or by attendees raising their hands to speak. Similar questions may be grouped and answered together. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking for the sake of sound quality and clarity of conversation. If you're having connection issues, please turn off your video until called upon to ask your question. We ask that you be respectful to each other during the discussion, and any continued personal assaults may result in removal from the meeting. How to participate in this process. This meeting, as you know, is being recorded, and tomorrow morning I will post it to the speakupaustin.org/NPA website. You can email or call me or Heather anytime with any questions or comments that you have. If you provide written comments, we can add them to the staff case reports. You will get a notice in the mail of the date and time of the Planning Commission and City Council public meetings if you live within 500 feet. The notice will have instructions on how to participate in these public hearings. The cases have not been scheduled for public hearings at this time. So why is there a plan amendment? Plan amendments neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. The city charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most neighborhood plan amendments are amendments to a plan's future land use map, also called a FLUM. Most NPAs have an associated zoning application. This map shows the areas in blue in the city that have City Council approved neighborhood plans. These city council approved neighborhood plans include a plan document that has the vision and goals of the planning area, and also a future land use map. This future land use map colors represent broad land uses. For example, single family is represented in yellow, mixed use in brown, commercial in red, which is what this property currently has, and what is being proposed, and industry is purple, which is what the property currently has. And here is a close-up of the property in the future land use map. You can see it is purple, which indicates industry. You can see to the north, there is some red, which indicates commercial, brown mixed use, again, purple industry. To the east, you see red, which is commercial, south commercial, and to the west, some industry and commercial. This is a screenshot from Google Maps. It just shows some of the surrounding land uses to the property. Here's a screenshot from Google that just shows the property as it faces East 5th Street. Aerial photo from our city's property profile. Again, this is the future land use map in aerial form, and it shows again some of the surrounding land uses, as I mentioned earlier, commercial, mixed use, and industry is predominant land uses that surround the property. The zoning map, you can see it's currently zoned limited industrial services district with a conditional overlay. To the north, you have the same, also with some commercial service, general commercial services to the east, south, and west, along with some more limited industrial services district. This is the City of Austin Comprehensive Plan Growth Concept Map, and those different colored blobs represent regional centers, town centers, and neighborhood centers. So the red represents regional centers, the orangish color is the town center, and the light color is a neighborhood center. This map shows the property in relation to those centers and corridors. So you can see the property to the north is the East 7th Street activity corridor. To the south of the property is the East Cesar Chavez activity corridor. You see Springdale Road is an activity corridor, and the property is to the south of the Springdale Station Neighborhood Center and to the east of the Plaza Saltillo Neighborhood Center. This map shows the property in proximity to public transportation. And that ends my presentation. I will stop sharing.
My turn. Hi, Mr. Morales. It's Amanda. It's good to
Hi.
see you. I still haven't figured out how to share my screen just yet on this new computer, which is crazy. So Drew's going to share his screen. I'm Amanda Swore with Drenner Group. Drew is also with Drenner Group on the line, and we'll run through a quick presentation. Maureen covered a lot of it, just really with the intention behind the future land use map rezoning, as well as the rezoning request that is in. And then happy to give you, Mr. Morales, a quick update on the things that we're waiting for from staff, and then can answer any additional questions if anyone else pops on or if you have any. Next slide, please. Maureen covered this, but as we've said, the property is located at 4927 East 5th Street. And we came up with a really creative name for the rezoning, which is 4927 East 5th Street. The property is located at the southwest corner of Spencer Lane and East 5th Street. Next slide, please. As Maureen mentioned, this site is currently developed. Today, it is home to Precision Oxygen and Supply, which is a heavy industrial user that has many different chemicals that exist on site today. Next slide, please. The property is just under an acre and a half, so 1.42 acres. Again, is currently developed with the Precision Oxygen and Supply. The property has sold. It is currently owned by my client, and Precision is leasing back while the new owners go through the redevelopment process. As Maureen mentioned, next slide, please. The site today is zoned limited industrial with a conditional overlay within the neighborhood plan combining district. Next slide, please. And has a future land use designation of industry. Our request is to rezone the property from the limited industrial services conditional overlay neighborhood plan to limited industrial services plan development area neighborhood plan, which allows us to modify some of the site development standards to create an ultimate office project on the property. The existing LICO NP zoning does allow for office uses. The LIPDA just allows us to make some of the changes. So with our proposed rezoning, a future land use map amendment would not normally be required. However, we have met several times with the larger neighborhood plan contact team, and they expressed a desire to go ahead and amend the future land use map from industry to commercial, so that once this heavy industrial user vacates the property, that another industrial user, if they were to come in, would necessitate a change to the future land use map. One of the things that we are doing with our LIPDA is removing the LI uses that are actually permitted on the site today. So although the base zoning will stay LIPDA, industrial uses will not be prohibited or will not be permitted on the property. They will be prohibited uses. The other two items that we are proposing to amend as part of the PDA are the floor to area ratio that is allowed under the LIPDA, as well as the height. In addition, we are proposing to carry through the other prohibited uses that are part of the existing conditional overlay and modify the allowed uses on the ground floor. Next slide, please. To talk about the height a little bit, we are requesting for a portion of the property to have a maximum height of 75 feet, with the remainder of the property having a maximum height of 60 feet. There will be proposed conditions within the plan development area for where the height can go and the stipulations that go along with that. As part of our conversations with the contact team, we have committed to certain things like specific pedestrian oriented uses on the ground floor, that office isn't a use on the ground floor, that residential is not a permitted use on this property, that the parking will be structurally parked within the project, and that there will be open air areas and accessible balconies. On the next slide, this is a rendering of what the proposed project looks like. This is along 5th Street. Again, this is an office project, and you can see where the additional where the break in the height maximums are. If you look from, in this case, it is right to left on your screen, which is actually west to east. Next slide, please. This is just a rendering that zooms in a little bit more and shows that pedestrian oriented use space along the ground floor that we are committing to as part of the project. Next slide, please. This slide lays out the process that we've gone through to date. We originally reached out to the neighborhood plan contact team back in February to let them know that we were under contract to acquire the site and would be pursuing a rezoning. We wanted to make sure that the rezoning efforts were in coordination with the area and make sure that what we were looking towards was something that would be supportable. As you can see, we've met several times with the with some of the contact team members with the subcommittee and with the larger Govalle Johnston Terrace neighborhood plan contact team as recently as, oh, I was going to say this month, but somehow it's already mid-September, and that was in August. We are committed to going back to the contact team to address some of the questions that came up at the last meeting. At this point in time, we do not have a planning commission or a city council date set. And with that, I am happy to stop my presentation and answer any questions that there may be.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Mark Walters, Principal Planner in the Housing and Planning Department, and my job tonight would be to moderate any discussions. But it looks as we have one attendee who isn't either staff or works for the applicant. Well, sir, if you have any questions, here's your opportunity.
Okay.
Maybe I can give you a quick update, Mr. Morales, on the, so I know we just staff big picture, the Mr. Morales represents Ms. Santis, who owns the property behind us, and we've been trying to work together to make sure we're all on the same page on how compatibility will impact this site so that everybody's on the same page. We've kind of taken your information and our information and given it all to staff. And we've been waiting to hear back. So I did hear from the case manager today that she's got a couple things in queue ahead of this, but that she was still looking into it, that she was in receipt of all of our information, and that she'd likely get back to us in a week or so as far as what their thoughts are. And we're committed to not moving forward, just like we said on the last meeting, until we're all on the same page and that the city's on the same page as far as what triggers, et cetera, that there are, so that we can, everyone's eyes wide open and we can be hands together because it impacts everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And your design looks really nice. I'm an architect, registered architect here in the city of Austin. And I've been working with Ms. Santis for many years, over 22 years now in that area. And when she received the notice about the zoning change, she's contacted me. And when she contacted me, I contacted Glenn Rhodes, a planning guru there with the city of Austin, and wanted to know about setback lines. And Glenn Rhodes told me that there were two issues that controlled setback lines, and that is zoning is one, and the use is the second one. He says you have the zoning that doesn't require, Ms. Santis has the zoning that doesn't require a setback line, but she has the use that requires a setback. And she has a residential duplex there on the site, and just wanted to make you aware of it and your team, because your design looks really great, to make sure that you don't waste time and effort, building up to the property line if we have a residence, next door to you that requires a setback line. And that's according to Glenn Rhodes. Glenn has been with the city for many years, and Ms. Santis just wanted me to state that again. We stated that at the last contact meeting that you all had on it. And we did meet with, Ms. Santis said I did meet with, is it Heather Chapman? Yeah, so we met with her and conveyed that information to her also. So with that, just wanted to express her concerns about having the setback on your property. And that's it.
Maureen, from a staff perspective, we agreed when Mr. Morales brought this up to us that we would work together and make sure that we understood. We had a bunch of information and research as well, and the larger contact team asked us to make sure that we got something in from the city that verified whether or not compatibility standards applied. And so we've been trying to have that meeting. I mean, and I admittedly was out for a week with a family matter that came up. So we are still working through that and have committed to making sure that we're on the same page before we move forward to public hearings.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that's it. I think we met quite a bit with, like I said, with the larger neighborhood contact team. And I know that they had talked to Ms. Santis as we were going through. And that's the only outstanding issue, Mr. Morales, that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I was gonna say
yeah.
just real quick. So as far as the planning contact team recommendation, I should wait to ask them for that recommendation until after this compatibility standards issue has been settled, or?
I think I would. That's what we committed to.
Okay.
They asked us to go get something in writing and we said we would do it.
Okay.
And so I don't know how fast we'll have that, but I'm really like the sun's coming after me. I'm sorry about that. But as soon as we do, I think that the neighborhood plan contact team would be able to make a recommendation, but I think depending on the findings will depend on what that recommendation is, because we've been working together to come up with what the conditions are of the PDA.
Okay. Okay.
Well, with that, we can end quite early, and a meeting doesn't have to expand to the time allotted for it. So Maureen, would you put up your contact information and go over the next steps? So in case somebody is watching this in the future, they can know what to expect.
Yes. So this is my contact information and Heather's contact information. The next steps, staff will meet and will make a recommendation on the plan amendment request. The zoning team will meet and make a recommendation on the zoning request. We'll work with Amanda and Drew and the neighborhood on the dates that would work for scheduling for planning commission, city council. And people who live within 500 feet will get that notice in the mail when it is scheduled.
Okay, with that, we can end the meeting quite early and get back to our lives, and to everyone have a good evening, and we'll see you at the next one of these.
Y'all take care.
Take care.
Good night.